Hello, everybody. My name is Juns. I'm your English teacher. Today, I'm going to talk about many different things in this video. This video will be divided into four main parts. All the main four parts will be of 15, each part will be of 15 minutes. And in these parts, I'm going to talk about many different things that really can help you, most probably about learning English, how to learn. It will help you to boost up your English, and you're going to have many great advantages uh, about the video if you watch this video very carefully and listen to my words that are going to help you in learning English. So let's talk about the first one. The first one here is we have to talk about some ground rules of spoken English. What's the problem? We do not understand before learning English. We need to go through some ground rules that will be helping us in learning English. If we have to start learning English, it needs some important ground rules. So let's get directly into it. Number one, we are going to start with the number one, think in English and speak in English. It's really important. What's actually the mistake we do whenever we start learning English? We start translating the words as the method is completely incorrect. Incorrect means you can never be fluent if you're going to translate from maybe from your mother tongue to English, or maybe from any other language to English. If you want to learn any language, you need to directly think in English and speak in English, or think directly in that language, particular language you're learning, and to start speaking in the same language. Let me take you to our mother tongue. If I'm going to personally talk about myself, I had my mother tongue in my childhood, and nobody taught me how to speak, what are the ground rules you need to understand, what are actually the number of different things you have to cope up with so that you can be able to speak in the future. And nobody taught me about the grammar rules, about some other different rules that are needed while learning a language. So how I learned this is just because of the environment that I had around those days. The same procedure I think we should start following when we talk about ground rules, when we talk about when it comes to learning English. Number one, think in English and speak in English. The first mistake we should not do, that is, if I'm right now in this room, for example, I should start pointing out the things and shout out them very louder. Shout all the words louder individually, but do not go for like a sentence directly, because there are some beginners who are learning English, and I've seen many people in my life who approached me and asked me about, like, there are different levels like A1, B, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, and different strategies work on you. So, what works for me, and I applied these strategies in my life to all my students, that really help them and that really work. As I said, number one, think in English and speak in English. We should start thinking in English, but how to think in English? This is really difficult. And speak in English is not difficult. First, we should learn how to think in English. While thinking in English, go for the individual words. Individual words, I mean, say the words that are that are in your surrounding, that are in your surrounding. For example, you have many things around you, are bounded with many more things that are different. I'm talking about the objects, I'm not talking about the persons. Like if you are gonna talk about this vase, you're gonna talk about the glass, your water glass, you're gonna talk about this coffee mug, you're gonna talk about the small globe, and these are the things you need to pick up first. If you are at a place where you are going to point out the objects, but shout them louder, because there may be some objects that you might not know the vocabulary of, and first pick them up. Later on, you need to start talking about one object that will help you to create a sentence structure, and you are directly thinking in English and speaking English. Let me give you an example. For example, here I have a glass, and in this glass, it has a little water inside, and this glass is made up of a glass. It's made up of a glass. That's why we call it glass. It's cylindrical shape. We pour water in it, and we drink water. It helps us in many different ways. Likewise, the same, you need to talk about these things. For example, I have one more thing here. If I'm going to talk about this is called POS, point of sale. You receive the payment out there. From this, you start swapping the card, whether it's credit or debit card, and it helps us in many ways. It's actually based on computer, it's based on internet. If you have internet, then this Android machine can work, and there are many different. It has buttons, it has multicolor buttons, it has a small screen. By that screen you get the payment confirmed. It has a small paper roll inside, and that gives you the printout. That it helps you in proof. For example, it takes out the customer copy, it takes out the merchandise copy, and this is really a good technique. It's the advanced technology that helps us to receive the payment. It's electronic machine. Like, we do not need to take out the cash nowadays. We should swap, or we start swapping the card, and automatically the payment goes credited to our account directly. There are many more things. If I'm going to talk about this thing, this is a book over here. It's very nice, my favorite book, Eat That Frog. It helps you not to procrastinate, because we start procrastinating in our life. Day in and day out, we start procrastinating. That's why we are not progressing in our life. Books are really helpful for, I think so, all educated people who are interested, who are book lovers. They must go and grab some books. Book reading is really important. It actually helps us in many different ways. I'm going to talk about this book. It's Eat That Frog. It is one of the best ever selling book, written by Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy, one of the best author, one of the best book writer. And Brian Tracy, he is teaching us 21 great ways not to procrastinate things. We should stop procrastinating. We're gonna do this work tomorrow, and tomorrow, day after tomorrow, tomorrow. But what happens? We never start doing any work in our life. This is what is the problem. So I recommend you guys strongly stop procrastinating. Procrastinating is not a good thing. It will make you lazy. It will never let you progress in your life. It will never uh, let you do any great thing in your life, because we all the time start procrastinating. It's actually the opposite of consistency. Consistency is very important. Let's get into the topic back. I was talking about thinking English and speaking English. Pick up the words, as I said, that are in your surroundings, and start accumulating those words and make sentences. That sentence can help you to make small sentences, and that sentence can help you to make small statements. That statements lead you towards directly the stories. Once you are able to make stories, then look for some markers of coherence. Markers of coherence are the called connectors, we can say. that helps us to connect sentence, stories, statements, and you can directly make big stories, long stories. And once you are able to tell or narrate stories, like you are able to speak, you are able to talk about things, many different things, then you can assume yourself that I am achieving and improving English. As one, you're going to look after yourself before, like it was a time for me when I was not able to pick some words then out. And later on, I started practicing many times in a day, and now I'm able to speak some sentences. That sentences definitely lead you towards the statements. That statements help you to make stories. This all. Then go for the group discussions. First, go for pair grouping because we sometimes stuck. We're not able to take the words out. What is the exact word we need to take out of our mouths that we cannot take? It means that you stop. You're losing your fluency. You cannot take the accurate word. You lack accuracy over there. For that, you need to speak. But make sure you're not afraid of speaking. You're not ashamed of speaking in front of people, in front of many situations. Like face the situations once, twice, thrice. And I can recommend you one of the best ever proverb, that's make hay while the sun shines. We must do the accurate thing when we have an opportunity, we have a chance to do it. So it's best and the right time for you to learn English with me, because we do provide many different courses. In these courses, you will have many great words, vocabulary, pronunciation techniques you learn, and you'll be learning many different things, like at the same time how to make sentence structures, how to make stories, act, how to connect the sentences with markers of coherence. Your coherence will be the best ever. And some other different things you'll be having in our courses are just about the group discussions. We will be having group discussions in a small community. In that community, you'll have like different lots of people that are going to help you in many different ways. Why we most often say that exchanging or try to finding out a conversation partner, that's really important. I just believe that if you have a good conversation partner, that can help you to boost up your English. How? If I'm going to talk about myself, I am having many different friends who work in many different countries across the globe, and I talk to them for 5 minutes or maybe for 10 minutes, and the whole conversation goes in English. Whenever I start talking to them, we exchange many different words in that particular conversation. And I sometimes try conversation with other people who are not good at English. I start asking them questions and persuade them to speak with me in English, because I feel all the time I'm a learner. Being a teacher, apart from that, I'm a learner, because a person must think all the time about learning things. And you can master yourself in mastering, you can master your English, you can master many different things at the same time by just practicing. I think so. Half an hour is good enough for you to practice every day. If you start practicing for half an hour a day, you can master any language. I'm not particularly talking about English, or maybe talking about particular any other languages. There are different languages, and you can master it by practicing only. So as I talked randomly about in this video, and now I'm going to talk about many more ground rules. So here I'm talking about more ground rules that really can help you to boost up your English. I think what's most important That is practice. Practice is the only key to master any skill. Like speaking English, of course, practice makes perfect. I strongly believe this quote just because I applied this quote many times in my life before. It works for me, it works for everyone, it works for many different things. It's not all about language. Learning a language is not a big game, it's not a rocket science. I was the one, you guys won't believe, I was the one of the worst ever student in my class, and I did not know anything about speaking English in my past life. I'm talking about my childhood. Okay, I did not know how the family background of speaking English. But I fixed this thing in my mind forever that no, we can do if we are ready to do. And that really works for me. One day I joined classes, spoken English classes. It's a place, it is in Delhi. And the first day of my class, I started talking to my teacher, asked him many questions, but I was preferring to speak in English. He told me that I'm not able to understand you, even though I'm not able to understand your words because the pronunciation was really bad. It was really bad. It was not up to the mark. I felt ashamed on the first day. When I got back to my apartment, I started crying. I thought, it's not my cup of tea. I cannot learn English because I'm always wrong. I start speaking to people who are not able to understand me. I knew myself what kind of message I'm trying to create over there. But unfortunately, the message, I was trying to encode the message, uh, and the other with whom I was talking was trying to decode the message, but it was not decoding as per the communication. I thought it's not the fault of other people, it's the fault of myself. Fortunately, I met a guy who was the expert of languages, particularly the English language, who did have expertise. I asked him about like how can I learn English. He told me that you know what's the best way to learn English is just only practice. I told him I did not know many ground rules. I did not know grammar rules. I did not know about many things that are needed to learn English. He told me that nothing you need to go through. The only thing you need to go through is practicing, is to practice. Start practicing. I told him how to practice. He replied, you know, we have enough to talk about ourselves. If I'm gonna talk about myself, many different things in my past life that I did in my past life and try to address those things to my audience. I went once again to my apartment where I started practicing. The first thing I was recommended is that start introducing yourself. I did that, and that was a successful try. That was a successful shot that I practiced over there. The next thing I did is to talk about my daily routines. Of course, he told me that you know daily routines to talk about is the things we do in our real life from morning to evening. What we do, many different things. Try to recapitulate those things, and I recommend you strongly to do so. Like start introducing yourself, how to practice. First and foremost, get in front of the mirror and start introducing yourself. There are five important things to remember. if you are introducing yourself. The number one is your name. Most importantly, there are many different ways to express your name. My name is, this is, I am, it is. You can choose one among them. And number two, make sure you're going to mention your address. Where are you from? If I'm gonna talk about myself, I'm proud to speak about my place. That's Kashmir. I belong to Kashmir. And you can say I put up at, for example, from any part of the Kashmir, right? And next is that, what do you do? What's your profession? If I'm going to talk about myself, I'm a teacher. And I've been teaching for the last 10 years. And I have a great experience of teaching English. And I hold certification of TESOL. I'm a certified teacher, world certified teacher for online and offline classes. And apart from that, I'm pursuing PhD. That's great for me. The next important thing is that your aim, talk about your aim. My aim is to become a best teacher, world's best teacher. There are different hobbies. The next part you have to talk about in your daily introduction is hobbies. What are your hobbies? I have many different hobbies. I love traveling. I love hanging out with people, with my friends particularly. I love reading books. I love making videos. I'm so into making videos nowadays. This is all about the introduction. The next thing, for example, it took me maybe 5 minutes. You just need to practice for half an hour or maybe for 15 minutes if you are not able to do so. Next important thing is that talk about your daily routines. Start your day with, I wake up early in the morning. I go directly into the washroom wherein I take ablution. I came out of the washroom. I directly go for exercise. I walk 3 to 4 kilometers in the morning every day. I come back to my home. I directly jump into the kitchen where I have breakfast with my mother. I finish my breakfast. I directly go to my bedroom. I take a newspaper, morning newspaper, to update myself with the morning news. And if it's day off for me, then I stay calm because I'm not in a hurry. I take most probably a cup of tea in the morning after having breakfast. If it's day for me to go to my office, I put on clothes and I directly leave for my work. Leave for work. When I reach to my office, I prefer to walk on foot if it's like a small distance I have to cover. And I most probably go by car to my office. As I reach my office, I look for some pending works if there are some, and I start completing them in the morning. This is my morning routine, and I ask my mother that I'm leaving. She gives me kind of Adoye, we can say Audie. I think, I'm not sure about the spelling. Adoye, it actually means the when your mother waves off hand for you in the morning, right? So my first class starts at 10:30 in the morning, and I give class to my students, and I straightly get back to my office to look for more pending works. If there are, then I directly go for the next class. I have more than 5 to 6 classes, offline classes, because I teach offline as well as online. More than 5 to 6 classes a day, and from 7 p.m. I have online classes. My first online classes starts at 7 p.m. and in the meanwhile I have dinner, I have lunch, I have coffee, sometimes I have tea, and this is what you have to keep in your mind to talk about your daily routines. First, about your introduction. Why we talk about the introduction? See, I'm telling you guys, I'll give you an example. For example, I have a car, right? You guys have a car. I know. I think nowadays every home has a car. You have a car, you will never put it in fourth or fifth gear directly. You start for the first gear, but before putting the car into the first gear, you start the engine, right? You start the engine, you put the car in first gear because it needs the first gear right now. It doesn't need second or third gear. And once you start the car, you try to take it out into the street directly. If it is traffic jam, the roads are jam packed out in the street, then you will never move the car so fast, and you will put it in first or the second gear, hardly the second, right? When you go ahead, you have no traffic jam, you witness with no traffic jam, you start going faster, you speed up your car gradually and thoroughly. The first thing, you put it in third, fourth, or fifth gear. Then the car moves so fast, it runs so fast. It's then up to you when you have open roads, when you have when you are confident about your driving, you are confident. You sometimes take off your hands from the steering and start listening to music because you are confident. Sometimes you are driving hands free, right? And you go directly run your car so fast. This is what you can compare this practice speaking in English with this driving a car. We drive a car, it's like the same. Our engine is not started at all. The first thing you have to do is just go in front of the mirror, start practicing, start speaking about the introduction because you are starting your car. Then go for the introduction. Then there are many different things that automatically strikes your mind you can talk about, right? So I'm talking about right now about the practice, but invest more than half an hour a day to practice for English. You can be able to do it for more time. You can invest or spend more time for practicing. More you practice, the better you will be. Then later on, try to look at your outcome. Do you really have a great outcome? Do you really have improved from that particular session of practicing? And this is you have to talk about. This is you have to practice a lot. Without practice, nothing can happen. Nothing can be improved. Whether you are learning a language or you are going for any examination to crack, right? So the best way is to practice. If you are so into English, you can practice day in and day out, right? So my recommendations for the second point is to practice whole day. Thank you so much. Let's talk about now. Let's talk about grammar. Is grammar important for learning English? Why do most of the people consider that we should learn grammar first before learning a language? I think you should not learn grammar at all because many of my students asked me before that, sir, without learning grammar, how can we learn English? Speaking English is not about the grammar. It's not all about the speaking English. It's about any language in the world. If you are learning any language, you don't need to indulge yourself into grammar. Let me tell you an example. When I was learning my native language, my vernacular language, that's Kashmiri, nobody in my childhood taught me about the grammar rules. Why am I able to speak in that language so fluently? Because I practiced it a lot. Yeah, of course, what is important to have in your surroundings is the environment. If you have great environment in your surroundings, definitely you're going to come up with many different words, right? Grammar is not important at all. You can indulge yourself in so many grammar rules that will stop your fluency. Let me give an example how. For example, I know where to use the modal verbs would, should, could, may, might, must, have to, dare to. These are all these are called modal verbs. Have you ever thought about yourself? Have you ever seen any person in the world who did not know about the grammar? If you are going to ask the person questions about grammar, he doesn't know, but on the other hand, he speaks English so fluently. Believe me, one day I was in a city and where I met a person. I started having conversation with him in other language, like not in English, and he responded in English. I asked him many questions. How do you know about the grammar? He told me, no, I don't know about the grammar. I don't know where to use would. How many rules are there to follow when you are learning would? But he was speaking so fluently. I told him how it's possible to speak English so fluently without learning a grammar. He told me, no, I did not know about any grammar rule when I was learning this language. I asked him, how did you learn the language? He told me, I worked with Englishmen. I worked with many people, many people who belong to an English speaking country. That's when I got to know about. Like, learning English is not about the grammar. We should not learn grammar rules while learning English. Because if you are going to apply these things in your language, like in your native language, for example, if I'm going to talk about my language, that's Kashmiri, nobody taught me grammar before learning the language. It was the environment who taught me many different things that automatically I got in my mind and later on put them in action and started speaking. This is how the same procedure we should apply while learning English. How do you know how are you? Why you are not why you are not here to learn how are you when you are learning English? Because this how are you moves around every day in and day out with you. Whenever you're gonna watch TV, whenever you're gonna watch any serial, whenever you are gonna watch cricket match, anything you watch, and these words are called those words which move in your surroundings every day, and the repetition of these words strike your mind. Then you don't need to learn them. You catch the words. That's why Albert Einstein said, learning English is not all about teaching, it's all about catching the things. I cannot teach you the language, neither I can make you understand, but you're catching the language. If you have a child at your home, you start speaking with that child in English. Definitely, the child will come up with English language. He or she is going to learn. It is going to learn English language. It's all about the environment. So here we got to know about the environment is really important in this part. If you are trying to put yourself into so many grammar rules, then you will be more confused. If I'm going to talk about myself, I do have knowledge about wood. I do have knowledge about many different things, and I was taught many different rules in my schooling, in my school life. But still, I was not able to speak in English just because the method has failed over there. Teaching grammar, you can learn grammar rules. Yeah, of course, you can learn many grammar rules that can help you to write out the things that can help. And you do not have time. If word is used for more than 15 places, 15 situations, then you are not getting that any one of these situations into your mind that can help you to take those rules and things out of your mouth. Grammar is important, but just for writing, not for speaking English. You need to create an environment. If you are not able to speak in English, like you fumble, you have some little filler words, just, you have repetitions, you have well, for example, these are called filler words. You can speak them out day in and day out. Whatever you know, try to speak that out. Try to put that thing into action. If you are not putting them in action, then you have, yeah, of course, I have got many questions about my students who ask me constantly, sir, we are able to understand English, but we are not able to speak in English because they never have practiced it. I'm ashamed of speaking in English because there are many people who I'm afraid with. And I started speaking, they started to laugh on me. These are the things that pops up in your mind. And most importantly, you're afraid of mistakes. I know 5 words. Understand, when you are not in a need to learn how are you. The small sentence, you don't know how is what, are is what. Is it helping verb or is it be form of verb? You, is you subject or pronoun? What's this? You don't need to just go into those problems, into those situations where from you get to know what actually this structure works, what is the rule that should be followed over here. That's actually the problem. Then you need to understand how are you just means this and that, keep going, keep speaking and keep learning. Grammar, avoid you need to avoid the grammar rules as much as possible, right? So I have one more important thing to tell you in this part is that make spoken English as an essential part of your life. Like food, how do you consider food is important for us to live up? Clothes, how clothes, you can say clothes, how clothes are important for us to wear. Very important. These are the three main, essential, and important things that we need to live our life. Consider English that important if you are learning just for 2 to 3 or 4 to 6 months. Once you get it, you need to just practice yourself. Rather, you may be rusty. Go and consider it as food, clothes, and shelter is really important. You cannot survive yourself outside in the open field unless and until you do not have shelter. You cannot live for more than 5 days if you do not eat food. You cannot live for more, just for a moment, if you do not wear clothes. You cannot even though go outside in the society, in the community, without wearing clothes. If these things are so important, then you just need to consider those things with English. The English is as much as important as your food, clothing, and shelter is important. Go and try to consider this thing very important in your life. Then you learn. Because interest, when we talk about interest, you cannot achieve. Where there is will, there is a way. Right? Will means have interest. If you are interested with English, with learning English, then definitely you are gonna learn. If you are not interested, it's not possible for you to learn, because interest is first, then learning is the second important thing. So consider it very important in your life, the main part of your life, as well as the doctor recommends you any medicine for any disease, so that the problem can be healed. The same procedure applies here in English. So in this part we are talking about the grammar rules. We should avoid grammar rules. We should not indulge ourselves with many grammar rules. We should avoid it as much as possible. And the environment is really important. We should create an environment. That environment can help you to boost up your English. All right. Now, there are many other different things that we are going to talk about in the next segment of the video. Reading books can help you to become a best reader. Listening skills can help you to become a good listener, but we must become a good listeners. And speaking, speaking English can help you to become a best speaker. We must become a best speaker. Here we are talking in general, that means by and large in the video. Talking about all the four skills like listening, reading, writing, grammar. Yeah, write more, you will become a good writer. Let's talk about the main important thing, that's speaking English. Speaking English is one of the important parts among those four parts, right? So I think speaking is the only solution to make you fluent. Yeah, of course. Let's talk about the strictness. How do we get strictness, and how can we learn more vocabulary and use that vocabulary at the appropriate place, right? If you are talking about the speaking in general, then you need to speak too many, or you need to take out only the words out of, you need to take only words out of your mouth, right? You need to speak more, I can say. More you speak, the better you will be, right? And let's talk about the vocabulary, because many of messages I got from my students, that why we get stuck when we need to take out this word, that word, any particular word while speaking English. Of course, this happens. It's actually the part of speaking. We can say the part of speaking, because when you start speaking English at the same time you're stuck, you're jam-packed, you're not able to speak. Automatically the words disappear from your mind. Before that, you had many words. Let me give you an example, the best ever example. For example, if I have this is not a glass here in my hand. It is just a, you can assume it as a water tank, right? Water tank. This water tank has a pipe here connected, right? This water tank has a pipe connected from here, from this point, and it goes directly towards this thing. Here's a tap, small tap. If here I have a tap, right? The tap is up to us to open it whenever you want to open it. The flow of water will automatically smooth. If you want to open this tap, you open it and the water comes automatically. It means it's up to you. You consume and assume the tap as your tongue, right? And whenever you start opening your tongue, whenever you start moving your tongue, automatically the words come out of your mouth. Because you have this water tank here, but it's not a tank of water, it's a tank of words, many different words. Maybe you have many idioms in your head, you have many vocabulary words in your head, you have many different phrasal verbs in your head, right? Many different phrasal verbs in your head. You have many things in your head. Sentence structure is, am, are, was, were, would, should, could, may, might, must, he, she, it, this, that, I, we, you, they, many different things. Then you are trying to put them in order. I mean, say in sequence. You try to take them out in sequence. Yeah, of course we should, because we cannot put the object first and later on subject, then verb. There is a sequence. We should follow the sequence. Let me get back to this point. Here is a tank of water. It has a water. The flow is very smooth, and that flow goes directly. That flow goes directly. That water goes directly here. For example, we need to wash hands. We need to do many different things at the same time, and this water comes automatically, right? The same, if you have words in your head, many different words in your head you have, that word should come automatically like water. I mean to say the flow of words should automatically come here on your tongue. Then it's up to you how you are going to use the tongue. If you are going to use it so faster, then words will come out so quickly, right? And what's actually the main point here? It is, you do not have good enough words to speak out. You get stuck. As you asked me this question, I always get stuck whenever I start speaking in English. The problem is that you lack practice. How do you lack practice? There are different ways to practice. You have, for example, this word A, B, C, D, up to Z, right? For example, I have a book over here. I'm reading this book, Eat That Frog, right? I'm the first content here. I'm just getting. It's a preface, introduction. Eat that frog. Set the table, right? Plan every day in advance, right? Apply the 80-20% rule to everything. Consider the consequences. These are called contents. For example, I have encountered the word here. Consider the consequences. I don't know what consider means. Yeah, of course, I know consider means sometimes, but it's just possible when I encounter this word from this book, right? Likewise, the same, I have consequences. I know what consequences, but it was just possible when I encountered this word from the book. When I need to take this word out virtually, I mean, so verbally, I'm not having like this word in my mind before. I need this just word. The requirement of the word is really important here when I start speaking. If I have this word in my mind fixed, then definitely I can take it out. Then my flow definitely will be smooth, because I will not stuck there. Why? Because I have a good hold over words. I have a good enough vocabulary to talk to people, to talk about many different things at the same time. The thing here is just why it reminds us the words when we encounter those words from any book, from any newspaper, from anything, from any, for example, flexboard, from any, for example, from any signboards, right? Instantly we get struck those words. But when we need to take those words out, when there's nothing available, no source in our surroundings, then we are not able to take those words out. What's the problem here is we haven't practiced those words. We haven't practiced those words. And those words are not ours, we can say simply. Let me give an example. For example, I'm having two more persons here. In total, we are three. Someone calls us, and he's 5 to 10 kilometers away from here, and he calls us. He gives us a chance to win something. For example, he asks us, I'm going to give you 1 crore rupees if you are going to reach here before this person or that person who are with me. And we all three gets single calls. We all three gets call individually. I get a call and the same person asks me the same thing, and another person who is with me gets the call and being asked the same thing, and the third person gets a call from a person and is being asked the same thing. But the main motto is the one who drops there before, one who drops there first will win 1 crore rupees. Remember, very important, very important, I can say. Now we jump out of the house, and I'm trying to find out the key of my car. For example, the next person is holding key here on his jeans, or you can say pant, and the third person is having nothing. He's trying to get there by a local bus, right? So who are you going to expect to reach first there? That's the only person who is holding car and having his car available 24/7. For example, if I have a car key available, I have a car available over there, then definitely I'll be the first person who will reach there. How it was possible? Understand? Just because when you have your car available, and there are two terms that we come up with. The first, independent traveling, dependent traveling. For example, I'm independent traveler. It means that whenever I want to travel, I can travel very smoothly without having any problem, right? The next thing is the dependent traveler. Dependent means once you have the private, or we can say the public car available there, then you can travel from one place to another. You can compare this situation to this situation, the vocabulary, right? If you are the person who is word independent, right? The person who is independent, you can say that one who is independent can be good at speaking English. He must have a good flow when he starts speaking in English, because he's word independent. It means that he doesn't have to look after words, because he has many words on his own and he can speak up very smoothly without any problem, right? The next person who is word dependent means the person who has to find out the keys first, then arrange a car, then get to that place, right? This is the thing you can consider with, right? So now, most importantly, you have to understand we must become word independent. If you are becoming word independent, then you can never be, you'll never stuck while speaking in English. If you are word dependent, then definitely you are going to stuck, because you are not having the hold over those words which you need to speak out whenever you start speaking in English. Next important thing, I was like talking to a guy before a while ago. I think it has been a year now. Uh, he was assuming himself that he's a fluent speaker in English, and he told me that I can speak at many different situations. I have a good hold over English language, and I started having a conversation with the person. What I got to know after having conversation with him, that he has the same problem. The problem is that he was word dependent, like he would stuck while talking to me, he would not get the accurate word. He was at the end, I can say that he was lacking accuracy, proficiency. That's important while learning. So now what we got to know here is that become word independent instead of being word dependent. You should not look for many different words at the same time. Try to learn 5 words a day. I think so, 5 or more enough for you. One, two, three, four, five. Go for 5 words a day. Keep practicing those 5 words, but do not practice them individually. If you are comfortable with the phrasal verbs, you can just go for the phrasal verbs because no need to go for the individual words. Phrasal verbs help us to shrink the sentences. For example, if you have to speak a long sentence over here, you can just say 2 words, that's phrasal verbs, and that message can be given to the next person, right? And go for 5 words a day. Practice those 5 words, and when the tomorrow comes, you're going to practice 5 more words. Then try to practice the previous five first, revise the previous five first, and then go for the next five, and put them in sentences. Making sentences are very important. And this mistake actually we do whenever we start speaking with persons. We do not use those words we have practiced before. We should start putting those words in the conversation so that it can help us in remembering the words. Because remembering the words are very important. It's not all about the remembering, getting the exact word at the exact situation at the exact place whenever you need to take them out, right? So here in this segment we were talking about like the dependent and independent words and the stuckness, why we get stuck, what's actually the problem when we face the stuckness while speaking in English. As I said, we are not having a good command over words, good hold over words, that makes us makes us stuck while having striking a conversation with a person, right? So now I'm going to talk about our course. What do we provide in our course? What are the things we provide in our course? How they are helpful for you? How you have to take the course? How you can enroll to our course? How you can go to our platform, social media platform. I mean, so from where you can learn many different things at the same time, right? And what are the things, if you are a beginner, how you are going to learn, what are the things needed for you. If you are intermediate, low intermediate, upper intermediate, you are having on the C1 level, what are the things you need to learn at each level, right? So let's talk about the first thing. What we provide in our course is that we provide the sentence structure. We ask you for the self-introduction. This is the first topic. In that we are going to teach you the self-introduction, how to introduce, what are the main important things you need to mention in your self-introduction. Then we are going to teach you the pronouns. Why do I teach pronouns initially? I means to say on the go. I start teaching pronouns to my students because many of my students, they are not aware about the fact where to use first, second, third person, singular, plural. That's why we need to, because English is all about the subjects. In general term, we can call them subjective pronouns, or we can directly call them personal pronouns. We can call them subjects in general. And why we need to teach them, because everything, whatever is being taught, whatever is being talked about, is all about the pronouns. There are 5 pronouns. There are many different pronouns. I'm going to call them he, she, it, this, that, I, we, you, they. You can. The first thing we teach in our course are the pronouns. The most important thing that we teach our students, verb. What's verb? Because it's always important, because subject and verb has its own agreement. Why we teach the subjects and verb first? Because it helps you to make a sentence structure. If you are a beginner, you are not able to make a sentence on your own. This helps you to make sentences. The subject and the verb agreement, it helps you to make a sentence. If you are not able, if you don't know what verb should I place here, what subject should I place here. That's why we teach you the subjects, then the verb agreement. And we divide verb into two different things. The first one is that action verbs, action words, the words which do the physical action, right? And the second thing is that we teach you the state verb, state of being. Some verbs are there which do not provide any physical action. We do not create any physical action. They just state the action. This is what we teach you, the number two. And object is what, if you're going to talk about cricket, volleyball, or maybe football, you talk about many different games, and it helps you to make object of the sentence. Then it's in total, ultimately I can say that this is called SVO. This is called SVO term, that we teach subject, verb, and object. The next important thing, we teach you how to put all the sentence into action, like how to connect the sentences. You are going to speak, for example, this is a boy, and, for example, this is a boy, and you are going to connect the next sentence with this and conjunction and, right? And you are including one more sentence. It helps you to words the statement, right? I talked in this video before. The statement, then you are going to make a little statements, and then stories. Once you are able to make stories, we put you in pair grouping. Pair grouping, you know why to go for the pair grouping? Because when you start doing pair grouping is important, because you are not ashamed, your partner, you are only two persons on the seats. You start exchanging the words, you start exchanging many different things. First and foremost, we would recommend you go for the self introduction, then go for like daily routines, and then in the course we most probably teach you, I'm not sure, that's why I use this word probably here. We teach you tenses, because you must know about the time, which what's the exact verb we should use here. Tenses, for example, we teach you 12 tenses, all the 12 tenses. Number one, tense is actually divided into three parts. That's present, the past, the future. In the present, we teach you four sons, like simple present tense, present continuous tense, present perfect tense, present perfect continuous tense. And we teach you in simple present tense how it's used for daily routines, present habitual activities, for true statements, and from usual activities, right? This is all about, we teach you 12 tenses, right? And then we teach you past tense. In past tense, we teach you four sons of the past. Number one is simple past tense, past continuous tense, past perfect tense, past perfect continuous tense. The same thing we teach you here in the future. Number one, simple future tense, future continuous tense, future perfect tense, and future perfect continuous tense. This is all for the beginners. Okay, if you are able to do the conversation in the beginning, when you join the course, we start teaching you directly. We directly put you into the conversation method. That is direct method. In English, that's called direct method, because we have to teach you the target language, that's English. We directly put you into the group discussion, right? Your teacher comes and he starts asking you to access your level, starts asking you many different questions so that he can get to know about your level, like at what level you are, what are the things you are needed, what actually the problem you face while speaking in English, what's the exact training you that's good for you, right? So these are the things we directly put. And those who are intermediate learners, or you can say advanced learners, they need only phrasal verbs, they need only advanced phrasal verbs, and they need idioms, advanced idioms. That's what we teach all of our students in our course, right? And our course is reliable, you can trust our course, and with that you can just go to our website www.nextgenenglishclass.com, from where you can just look for our courses. And if you want to take any course, for that you just hit on the course. You will directly, that will arrive you directly to the payment gateway, from where you have to make the payment. Once the payment is received, you can get instant access to our courses. And our courses are for lifetime. You don't need to pay a single penny after taking our course. Once you pay, it's one-time payment and lifetime assessment, right? And our courses are really designed in a different way and designed by experts. That's the best ever thing for you, right? Then the next thing is here, once the assessment is given to you, we have both the virtual as well as the offline mode. You can register for both the modes. If you need any more information for that, you can just call on our number, that's 7006251364, and you will directly reach out to our admission counselor, who can guide you and can give you more information about our courses, what we provide. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm really so into you, because you are the only persons who subscribe to our channel, and thank you for reaching 1K subscribers. It is just because of you, for your support, your love, and your affections that you spread all over all over the country. I can just tell you, I'm your teacher. I'm always with you, and whenever you need my help, you can just directly you can directly WhatsApp me, because I am here to help you 24x7. And thank you so much to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow our social media platform, where you will learn many more things. Bye bye.